For the past 4 years, we've been living out of a two-wheel drive contractor van turned overlander while chasing adventure across the Americas. From the Arctic Ocean in Tuktoyaktuk, Canada, to the rugged southern tip of Argentina in Ushuaia, we drove our tiny home on wheels into some of the wildest and most remote corners we could find on the map. After 16 countries and more than 100,000 kilometers on the road, we've returned home with a lifetime of lessons learned. But we're not done traveling. We have driven all the way from north to south. Now, we're putting all of the lessons we've learned from that trip to build the ultimate overland vehicle that will carry us around the world. We're the SlowRoamers, and this is our World Tour build series. Listen closely and look hard, because by the end of this video, our loud, rusty, patchy GMT400 pickup is going to sound and look very different. Well, hey there folks, welcome to the Alex Build Stuff Show. It's the show where I build stuff and I show you. Today we are starting on to the next process of the Global Expedition truck build series, and that is paint. We have chosen our colors, we have bought our paint and primer, we have all of the materials that we need to set up a paint shop, sand down the truck, prep it, and do the whole job. We have not, as of yet, told anyone except for our patrons what the colors we have chosen for the truck are. However, I can tell you that the paint colors are going to be a small ode to Betty, the vehicle, the van that we left in Argentina. This truck is going to look amazing once I'm done with it. I'm so excited to show you and get this process done with. Once we finish this and we get the flat deck on the back, then we can actually have a driving truck that we can take out and do all of our fun activities in and not have to worry about taking the box off, putting the flat deck on, or stripping the paint, taking the windows out, blah, blah, blah. It's going to be good. But before we get to doing that, we have two processes that we're going to be doing before we really get into the paint stuff. And that is changing up the exhaust system and adding some more sound deadening to the cab. Once those two things are said and done, we build a paint job and then start sanding down the cab. So enough talking for me. Let's get after it. All right, so it wouldn't be a proper comparison video if we did not get a video of what this exhaust sounds like before we add in the second muffler. A while ago, I purchased this big Mama Jamba. This is a FlowPro 4-inch straight-through performance muffler. It's a Canadian brand that makes these. I love buying Canadian when I can, and I'm hoping that this does get the sound of the exhaust a little bit less choochy, and we're going to make some modifications to get this exhaust pipe away from the drive shaft, because it has been hitting on the drive shaft. When Lance put the exhaust in, we just chose like a kind of like a factory replacement exhaust for a Duramax truck, and he just kind of made it work, but there are some adjustments that have to be made. So I'm going to do that, and hopefully by the end we should have a very different sounding exhaust. So I'm going to go start up the truck, and we're going to see what this sounds like, and hopefully by the end of this sequence it'll be quieter. Huzzah! Luckily for me, the whole removal process of the exhaust is pretty straightforward. Old Jerry is high enough off the ground to easily get under, and I really only have one V-band clamp and a few exhaust mounts to undo. Twist it your way. Yeah, okay, good. Good.
Oh, wait, whoa, the camera. Why is it gotta be so long?
Alright, get out of here.
Muscle.
Yeah, muscle. Alright. Exhaust is out. You can see right down here. This is where the exhaust was hitting the drive shaft. And if we go over here, you can see right there marks on the drive shaft where it was hitting. So what we're going to be doing is I'm actually going to be cutting a chunk out of this piece right here, and that should move the whole exhaust system over. And then we'll be taking out one of these sections here and putting in that muffler, and I think it should fit just fine. So yeah, let's do it. Alright, so this is the chunk that I'm going to be cutting out of this kind of like bend piece. This will move the exhaust over to the passenger side a little bit and just shorten it up a smidge, and that way I can fit that longer muffler into one of these sections that just pulls apart. Alright, we got that piece all welded up. Now we got to do something about this guy right here. I gotta pull this off and then stick a muffler in there. Okay.
Can I hold on to this?
Yep.
Anywhere?
Okay. Stop there. Just stop. Perfect. Thank you. You're doing such a great job.
No wonder Jerry's so heavy. Everything weighs so much.
Well, I've been at it for about an hour now. I think I've gotten a pretty good exhaust system in there. It's tucked up out of the way of the drive shaft and away from the cab, and I shortened it by, I don't know, maybe about a foot. And yeah, I'll show you guys what I've got. So the exhaust comes out a little bit shorter and right underneath one of our boxes here. I might change that later on, just put an elbow so it comes out to the side, but for now it's like that. And then I've got it kind of plumbed a little bit closer to the frame, a little bit higher over the rear axle. It still stays underneath the frame. I had to change up this mount a little bit here so that it came out this way, and of course we got the hold there. I changed up where this mount is right here so that it's directly over top. And now all I have to do is just pull it out and weld up that one last joint and put it back in. Alright, first start time. Let's see what it sounds like. Well, unfortunately, I don't know if I can say that's particularly conclusive. Might be a little bit quieter. So I just took the truck out for a quick spin. You saw the video of me coming in. I know that it doesn't really sound very different on the iPhone video, but the drone has definitely been taken out of like the acceleration and coasting at speed. So I'm pretty happy. We've just gotten a little bit quieter, and I think with a box and all of our stuff behind us, we're barely going to hear anything from the exhaust. Now I just got to take the rattle out of the transmission tunnel. So that's what I'm going to be doing next. Yesterday I cleaned underneath the truck, so it's nice and tidy under there, and I'm going to start sticking stuff to the underside. So I've purchased more Silas products, and this is probably what I should have purchased before. This is like a weighted foam kind of stuff. It's a lot thicker, and it looks like it would have done a way better job of actually like really sound deadening the interior of the cab, but oh well, just going on the underside, I guess. First step under the cab is to scrape off as much of the collected junk on the underside as I can, and then I'll be ready to start sticking stuff. Oddly enough, this job was fairly easy. The paint on the underside is pretty much in perfect condition, enough so that I just needed to use a scraper to remove the dirt and grease. As a disclaimer, yes, I have considered the chance of water entrapment on the underside of the cab. I figure everything is worth trying once, so if in a year or more time I get under the truck and there's rust under these sheets, I'll simply peel them off. Alrighty there, folks. So big day yesterday, as you saw. We just get the exposure down there. Got the exhaust in, and I also finished doing all of the sound deadening. So I'll just pop the hood here. You can't really see a whole heck of a lot, but on the back there, on the firewall, I added more sound deadening there, and of course I did the whole underside of the cab as much as I could do. It feels pretty great to get that out of the way. That was a really hard job. Just lying on your back trying to do that work is not fun. Today we're going to be taking off these fenders and getting started on doing rust repair, because the fender is pretty crusty under here. It's not totally gone, so I think that I might be able to repair it. I went to the wreckers looking for new fenders, and every single truck had really gross fenders, so I was just like, not great. So yeah, we're gonna see if we can get these repaired, and then I will be putting sound deadening on the inside wall, or the outside of the inside wall of the engine bay, because I've been talking a lot with Wes, and he says that apparently you get a lot of engine noise from here going right into your door jamb. So I'm going to sound deaden that, and hopefully less noise will be escaping the actual engine bay as well. Alright, let's get to it. As per the norm with anything disassembly related on Jerry, taking off the fenders and hood was not a straightforward process. Well, this has been a total battle to get this fender off. I didn't film it because the things that I was saying are not allowed to be on our YouTube channel. But I think I almost got it. But it's very quickly looking like this fender at least is going to be a write-off, and we might need to be getting ourselves a new fender because the rust is a lot more advanced than I would like it to be. Yeah, not great. It's all flaky. Well, I guess Jerry gets new fenders. Whew. Okay, so this tub doesn't look amazing, but I think it is fixable, so at least I don't have to replace all of it. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to just clean up all of this edge here, and then just get a strip of like 16 gauge steel and just you know, welded on or something like that, so that at least there's a backing. This is not what I wanted. Despite there being rust repairs required, each side took me about 2 hours to do. In my books, if a job like this can be finished within a day, it basically never happened. So I'm really not too broken up about it. Overall, I'm pretty darn happy with how these inner fenders turned out. They're stronger and thicker than factory, and the repair wasn't huge. That right there is a win-win in my books. Okay, so we're making progress here. Got a lip all welded down, and it's kind of reinforced the inner fender. I'm gonna clean up this whole area in here and get it ready for paint. Gotta remove this first, so let's do that. Okay, I don't know if the rust is quite as bad on this side. Well, actually maybe it is. It's pretty bad there. This was the section that Lance had to repair when he was working on the truck, and unfortunately some of the steel that he welded to the underside of that. So, but I'll be replacing that and cleaning all of this up. And I don't know if this is worth trying to save. This is all very, very crusty in here. Very crusty indeed. This is just water. So maybe I'm looking at 2 new fenders for sure, I guess. Well, that's it for me today. It's a little bit early. It's Saturday, so gonna go have a movie night with Meg. Got the second wheel well all finished up. Feels so good to have that done. That was not a fun job at all. Not having fun whatsoever, but I'm glad it's done. It's out of the way. Now we just gotta get 2 new fenders for Jerry, and then the painting can really begin. Tomorrow I'm going to get started on doing the prep work, so just like stripping off all of the plastics, all of the rubber, probably pulling out the back window, and then I'll probably start sanding and taping and all that good stuff. So it's just prep work probably for the next week before we get the fenders, and then we can actually paint and do all that good stuff. So yeah, all right. Well, we'll see you in prep work day tomorrow. It is officially the start of prep work for paint. I'll be starting the day off with stripping and scraping as much paint off the body as possible. Let the games begin. It's a little unfortunate that the blue doors and hood on this truck were replaced with white. If you know anything about GM, you'll know that their track record with their white paint ain't good. If you've been with us long enough, you'll have seen me chipping white paint off of Betty, our express van, long ago before she got paint. It would seem the problem is following us around. Something to do with the primer or paint resulted in generations of white GM vehicles losing their white paint in sheets. I still remember driving along in Betty and watching a large sheet of white paint burst into shards on the highway when a strong gust hit it. It's just crazy how bad the problem is with these GM vehicles. Next in line to come off are all of the plastics, seals, mirrors, and door handles. All right, I'm doing this for those of you who I know are into this kind of content. It is kind of satisfying. I have to admit. Then a quick wipe down with mineral spirits and eventually a couple wipe downs with final wipe before masking off the engine bay and back half of the frame. Our paint booth isn't going to get, too professional. We're just attempting to stop any breeze coming through that would kick up dust or blow paint away. I wet down the floor of the shop as well, just to make sure my feet don't kick up any dust while I'm spraying. And then it's time to spray. Alright, I'm back in the shop. I'm going to be the first to admit it that I really don't like painting. I like the result, I don't like the process, and I'm not super good at it. I've painted a few vehicles in my life and it's always been just kind of like a cheap paint job. I was hoping to do slightly better on this one, but it turns out that I had to do way more prep work. You can definitely see the transition of where raw steel went to paint. So I've got to hit that with like 200 grit sandpaper to bring it down and make it a lot more smooth. I've got weird reactions in the paint or in the primer right here. I've got drips. So yeah, there's a fair amount of work for me to do still just to get the primer down. Yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and do that, and hopefully once I get the second coat of primer on this thing, it'll look a heck of a lot better than it does now. Yep, love painting so much. Well, about an hour and a half, 2 hours of sanding later, I think I've corrected my mistake. The epoxy primer is true to its nature, and it is an epoxy, and I don't think it was 100% cured because as soon as I start sanding it, it starts to gum up in my sanding discs. So you can see that I have gone through like so many sanding discs just to get the door kind of all smoothed out. I'll go over to the other side here and show you guys. So I had to like almost take half the whole door down on this side to get it smoothed out enough that I can't feel the like the transition between steel and paint. So I'm gonna blow everything off and do a few wipes of final wipe, and then we're gonna hit it with another coat of primer. I'm using Endura epoxy primer for the project, which I've been told is kind of the best thing to do. The second coat really pulled it together, and the result was a nice satin coat. Well, it's a good day. We just got back from Nanaimo. We picked up these very, very nice rust-free fenders from a guy in Nanaimo who wrecks OBS trucks. So the next stage is I'm going to get this all cleaned up, stripped down, and then I'm going to fill the interior with sound deadening, spray paint the back side, sand the front side, and then we're going to hit it with primer. And then tomorrow we should be ready to paint. So let's do it. During this process, I made sure to get all of the built-up dirt and grime out of the inside of the fender, then washed it down and applied new paint inside the fender. I'll also make sure to drill bigger drainage holes at the bottom of the fender to release any mud or water that gets in there. With any luck, these fenders should last another, I don't know, 20 to 30 years. Well, folks, today is a big day because today I officially start the painting process. Not primer, paint. As I mentioned at the start of this video, the paint colors are an ode to Betty, our van that we sold in Argentina. If you guys haven't been following along with us for a long time and you don't know about Betty, there's plenty of videos in our backlog of that van and all of the adventures we went on with it. Lots of people said that they would love to see colors similar to Betty, and although we had some different ideas, we definitely decided in the end that we would kind of stick close-ish to what Betty looked like, just because, you know, we just wanted to honor that particular two-wheel drive van. I'm going to bring you guys into the paint shop and show you the primered panels, and then we're going to, well, I'm going to take off all of the masking and put the new fenders onto the truck so that I can tape a body line, and then yeah, then I'll get to it. So let's go into the paint shop. All right, here we go. There he is in all of his glory. I got like 3 coats of this of primer onto the new fenders yesterday, and then a few more coats onto the doors. I had a few little areas where I had to repair right in here, but overall I'm actually quite happy with the finish that I got from the primer. I think I actually did a pretty good job of sanding everything out. There used to be a line right here where you could see where the paint transition was to raw steel. It is gone now. And then of course I have nothing on the hood that I was worried about. I primered the old the fenders, or sorry, the flares from the old fenders. Yeah, I got a little bit more paint onto the back of the cab, so he's all ready to go. Like I said before, I'm not, I don't really care for painting all that much, and I really wanted to do a good job on this paint job, so I took the time to kind of correct a few of the issues that I had, and I think the perseverance is going to pay off. I think this is actually going to be possibly my best paint job that I've done. I'll put a photo of a previous vehicle that I had right here. That's a 1988 Toyota pickup. That truck went through a lot of different iterations, and the last iteration was a paint job with the paint that I'm using for this truck. We're using Endura paint, And the reason that I chose Endura is because it's widely available. It's known to be super duper strong. They actually like paint heavy equipment, boats, and like drill rig equipment with Endura paint. It's just a 2-part paint. It's no, complicated mixing process or anything like that. And I got it at Napa, so I'm pretty happy with that. It was fairly well priced. I think we maybe on this paint job for the cab have spent roughly $700. That's primer and the 2 liters of actual paint. So yeah, that's what I'm doing with that. And okay, I'm just gonna stop talking. I'm gonna get to reassembling the cab a little bit.
And on went the newly refinished fenders. My repair job of the inner fenders worked perfectly and the outer fender slid firmly into place. Body lines and bolt holes all lining up precisely. Next up was to tape the body line for the two-tone paint job. I retaped about 4 times until I found the right line and was able to keep it pretty straight.
All right, well, the truck is officially fully taped off and ready for its first coat of paint, which means this is where I leave you. And the next shot is going to be the truck rolling out of the shop, fully painted with its new colors. And I'm very excited for that moment, but there's a lot of work to get there. So we'll see you in just a second. Well, there you have it. The dream colors of Jerry, an ode to Betty. So the orange turned out maybe a little bit brighter than we had anticipated, but I think it looks pretty fantastic. What do you think, babe?
Looks cool in the speckled light. It looks super retro-like.
And there you have it, the result of about a week and a half of work. The process wasn't easy, it wasn't particularly fun, but the result is pretty dang nice.
Well, there's a few last little things to touch up on, just a few body panels and whatnot. In the next couple videos, I'm going to be building a aluminum bump out for the back window, and then a rear bumper as well. And then we're going to be mounting the flat deck that I have been working on for the last month, and we're just waiting for the boxes on that. So stay tuned. This truck is about to see some serious transformation.
Yay. Finally.
So we just want to say a massive shout out to our patrons out there supporting us. Thank you to all of you watching that have made it this far. We really appreciate all of you being here, and
thanks for bearing with us.
Yeah,
through Jerry's ugly teen years.
It's been a long haul, but thanks for the patience. All right, we're gonna end it here. Again, thanks for being here. We'll catch you in the next one. Later.